alongside the Narendra Modi Stadium. This is exactly the venue where you will be seeing India and South Africa go head to head in the Super 8s match. The first Super 8s match for both the teams, and the South African practice session just ended. They had 3 hours, but they didn't use all 3 hours. Hour and a half is all that we saw the South African team be here, and it was a very light session from the South African side. And I must admit, I've somewhere been found out in the sense that they didn't, contrary to what I had believed. They were proven me wrong by not having the entire team here. My sense was that perhaps because they had the night training session, they will be coming full tilt, and they'll be going full tilt in the practice session. They'll be coming in big numbers. That is not something that happened. In fact, only a few players had turned up in today's batting session. A few bowlers, and you thought that maybe there'll be some practice drills, etc. That'll be done. Just a few players that I saw practice as well. That too, perhaps I don't see necessarily them having a role to play tomorrow. I'm talking about an Andrik Nokia who was taking some high catches, and that also lasted for just about a couple of minutes. So let me quickly tell you what exactly is it that I saw the South African side do over the course of the 1.5 hour that they spent in the middle. So in 2 batches they were training both simultaneously. There was one group that was training inside the Narendra Modi Stadium, and there was another group that was training at the back nets. Those nets, by the way, for those of you joining me live right now, I can tell you that right behind me, by the way, where I am standing right now, this is pretty much the front on view. This is right behind the side screen you can assume me to be at the moment. And where the back nets are, they're on the bank opposite side. On the other side of the stadium are those nets that are there. It looks pretty much the same like this, just that you've got a couple of nets planted right alongside the walls. It's still part of the Narendra Modi Stadium complex that we have here in Ahmedabad. So in 2 groups I saw players be there. The first group comprised of players, and I'm talking about the first group, the one that practiced here in the main playing area. There was Kagiso Rabada, there was Marco Jansen, who made a brief appearance. There was a Tristan Stubbs, and there was a Ryan Rickelton. They were in the company of a couple of support staff members. What they did, I'll tell in just a bit. But let me also at this point tell you what that second group looked like. That second group had a Quinton de Kock, the same Quinton de Kock who had come to the press conference. Then there was the captain Aiden Markram, who was seen chatting up with Shukri Conrad before he went ahead with his stuff in the nets. And then there was David Miller as well, who was waiting for the nets for the nets to be vacated so that he could have a crack there in the nets. So yeah, let's now that I've laid down the foundation for you guys, let me begin to tell you what exactly did I see. Light training session, nobody going full tilt. It was only Ryan Rickelton that I felt was giving his 100%, really trying to clear the ropes, trying to go for the shots. In fact, he was the only batter who was batting in the main field of play. No other batter was here as I laid down the premise for you guys. And the bowlers bowling at him were Tristan Stubbs and Kagiso Rabada. Marco Jansen, just a couple of deliveries, also not full tilt. He wasn't as quick as I saw Quena Mafaka be yesterday in the day training session. Quena was nowhere to be seen today, and yeah, Marco Jansen bowled those couple of deliveries. He went off after that. Kagiso Rabada, again, much like yesterday, tried focusing on the right lengths with lines. He wasn't wearing too much. I think he was focusing more on the lengths as he was trying to cramp Ryan Rickelton over there. Tristan Stubbs, I would say, was bowling quite a few deliveries, and it gave me a sense that at some point maybe South Africa could look at introducing him, because remember, he bowls finger spin, he bowls off spin, and you could see him be introduced at some stage tomorrow because of the sheer presence of left-handers in this Indian side. If I have to tell you where exactly he was coming into bowl, he was bowling around the wicket to Ryan Rickelton. So perhaps you could see him do much the same tomorrow, coming round the wicket and bowling to the Indian left handers. That's what I saw in this part of the ground. But let's now move towards the back of of the stadium and tell you the little bit that I saw over there. As David Miller waited for his chance to come, it was Aiden Markram, Quinton de Kock who were inside the nets. They were taking only throwdowns. There was no net ball over there. There were just a couple of volunteers who were collecting balls. But otherwise, I only saw throwdowns being given to the to the two of them. Aiden Markram was being given more short length deliveries, so he was just looking to punch the ball down the ground or play a couple of defensive strokes. He wasn't going hard with power. However, the same cannot be said about Quinton de Kock. Quinton de Kock was all about power. He was all about showing intent. In fact, he did get the nod of approval from the throwdown specialist who was working alongside him. So Quinton, in fact, was seen going down the ground on a couple of occasions, and in those couple of occasions, the throwdown specialist had to get out of the way as well. But he was mighty pleased with what he saw with Quinton de Kock in that brief training session. Otherwise, nothing really. Since I mentioned Aiden Markram at the start, he was also there. He was padded up. I don't know why, but Aiden Markram was. Andrik Nokia, beg your pardon, was padded up, and he too would have then gotten a chance to bat perhaps. But I just moved out of that zone, and I thought I'll give you this quick update, because by the time I came from inside the stadium, having seen what was happening in the back net session, the nets had already started to get they were already been removed from the middle. In fact, the covers had been put on as well. A large part of the Narendra Modi Stadium has now been put under covers, I can tell you. It still isn't the kind of visual that you see in Sri Lanka, where the entire ground is covered. I didn't see that happen, but I would say very easily 3/4 of the ground was then put under the covers. That's what happened in this South African training session. And with that, I also come to an end to this last live that I had for you guys on T-1. Tomorrow, let's see what is it that things look like. Two teams, as I've said again and again in my reports, look very evenly matched. To me, it looks like there will be runs on offer. There isn't any due today as well, I can confirm to you guys. I was inside, saw the entire training session, good 3 hours from 6 to 8 hours 30 minutes till that time, 8:30 I was there. And yeah, I can tell you that it didn't look like there was any dew at all. Just a little bit of moisture I felt was more in comparison to yesterday, but just a tad bit, just a tinge more, nothing more than that. Hardly something that can make a big difference. With that, yes, that's all that I see. That's all that I have been able to observe. Quinton de Kock said that be ready for runs. This pitch has no spin to offer. Let's see what is it that the two teams then go with in terms of their 11. My hunch is that this Indian team is going to stick with the 11 that we saw in the in the match against the USA, and then the subsequent match that you saw, the second match for the Indian team. You saw Kuldeep play in Colombo. That I don't see happening. You saw Washington play in the previous match. That is again something I don't see happening. I see Arshdeep Singh return to the Indian team. I see him bowl alongside a Jasprit Bumrah. Perhaps given the workload for Kuldeep in the last couple of days here at the Narendra Modi Stadium, the way that the practice sessions have been, I have a feeling he is not playing tomorrow. On top of that, when I tell you that QDK feels there's no assistance for spin at all, then I have a feeling you're going in with an extra seamer, because you don't want an added spinner in the side when the pitch may not have any assistance. But Varun Chakravarti, I think that's that is pretty much an accepted thing now, that Varun Chakravarti will be starting ahead of Kuldeep Yadav, and there is absolute merit in that as well. Varun Chakravarti is the number one T20I bowler as far as rankings are concerned right now. So let's see what is it that the Indian team has to offer, what is it that the South African side has to offer. It does look like you're seeing perhaps two of the very best teams in this tournament so far, both looking to peak, both still perhaps haven't played their best game, and that's what excites me. The fact that they haven't dished out their best, maybe you will see that tomorrow when the two teams collide at the Narendra Modi Stadium. Do press the bell icon so that you get notified every time we have a new offering for you here at Sports Day, do subscribe, because we just do so much stuff for you, and we'd love it if you could go have a look at everything that we present to you guys. For now, taking your leave, take very good care, have a good night's sleep, and let's meet here at the Narendra Modi Stadium tomorrow.